So, Warwick, we're just minutes after we closed our conversation with Sharon Land, and it was a wide ranging conversation that people will notice when they watch it. You were particularly engaged in. So I'm dying to know what's the big takeaway that you got from our chat with Sharon.
Sharon has an interesting view of wellness. One of the things she talks about is in Western medicine, we can be so focused on the cure that we don't consider other ways of healing, other approaches. And she's not against Western medicine. That can be very helpful. But I think what she's advocating is looking beyond just trying to cure the disease to what are some of the factors that led to it. And so she looks at the whole person, emotional, spiritual, and physical. Some, obviously, as we know, diet and exercise can definitely help in terms of making you healthier, lowering cholesterol. I mean, there are some things we all know about, but just looking at overall wellness, certainly high stress can lead to adverse health consequences. The exact connection, it's not easy to tell, but I think it's known that there is some connection. So what are the ways we can reduce stress as well as just increasing wellness overall? And it's interesting hearing about Sharon's story. She shares that when she was 12, 13 and a teenager, obviously as a child, you're not really in charge of your health. Your parents are. And she went through a number of challenges. But what was interesting is when she said that she had a stroke in 2005 and then a committed relationship she was in broke up. Those were absolutely devastating. But I sense from what she said that as devastating as it was, she had some tools to help her that she didn't have when she was a child that helped her deal with those better and bounce back. So she has a number of private clients. Some are probably pretty well-known athletes, but it's obviously all confidential and she wants to protect that. And she's able to just give them a wide variety of tools, different spiritual modalities. So to help people just get in touch with who they are, what are some of the causes of it, how do you manage some of those things, how do you accept maybe the new normal, just doing more than just traditional medicine, as good as that is, but just trying to deal with the whole person. And as people are bouncing back from their crucibles, you've got to deal with the whole person. You've got to deal with how you process your crucible to bounce back. You've got to understand the causes. You've got to make a choice to move forward and not sort of wallow in what you went through. There are consequences that sometimes won't change. You've got to learn how to live in the new normal. And so she dwells in a space that definitely has overlap with what we do. So, it's medicine is useful, but there are things you have to do beyond just taking traditional medicine, which is helpful to deal with the whole person, the underlying causes, what's leading to stress, is it unresolved conflict, using prayer or other spiritual modalities. So it was very thought-provoking discussion about what does wellness mean in the broad sense of the word.
Yeah, and those areas that you said that she overlaps with Beyond the Crucible, I was struck by one at the end of the process, right? The life of significance process. She said this, which I just thought, I've never heard a guest phrase it this way, but it's so true with what we know from our own experiences and the experience of the guests. She said this, that she's discovered the giver is always the receiver. There's a life of significance right there. As you give, you receive. Talk about that a little bit. That's a pretty profound statement, and it definitely aligns with what we do.
It sure is. That's such a great point, Gary. One of the things we say is, yes, you've got to understand what happened in your crucible. You've got to have times of reflection. We talk about this quite a bit in the Actionable Truths series that we're going through. But really, one of the things that we say is one of the keys to getting out of the pit of despair is to have a vision, a life-affirming vision that leads to a life of significance, a life on purpose dedicated to serving others. And very often for many, if not most of our guests, their life affirming vision comes out of the crucible. I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. I want to help people that went through what I went through to bounce back. So when you're focused on helping others and you see that you've made a difference and somebody says, boy, Gary, Warwick, what you did, it kind of helped me. And, when you feel like what you're doing is making a difference, it's kind of a bit easy to get out of bed in the morning. It feels like life has purpose. It's easier to be grateful. It's easy to be thankful. And there's some level of internal, emotional, spiritual healing, which, who knows, might have physical benefits too. But yeah, when we're focusing on giving and not just receiving and focus on helping others, there's definitely some, I think, overall wellness and certainly spiritual and emotional benefits.